What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Madonna. We're returning to Ray of Light 1998. Thank you, as always, to Mark, and also to Yvonne, who sent me the Ray of Light single CD. And in that regard, we're up to the title track. And so, quick question at the front end. I'm thinking I should probably go through the full album, and when we get to the end of it, I can listen to one or two of these additional mixes of the title tune. But if any people think that it would make more sense to immediately, or in my next Madonna reaction, go through one or more of these mixes, let me know. As I said, I'm inclined to do the full album and then circle back and listen to a couple of these before moving on to the next album, but I'm open to recommendations or suggestions. In any case, obviously a ray of light on a scientific level would be speaking to a single photon, a single light ray as part of maybe a larger swath of light. And of course, light can not only bring illumination, but heat and warmth, and I feel like there's any number of metaphorical meanings or emotional feelings that might come along with this. I suppose if I had to hypothesize in advance, I'm thinking about how a single ray of light may make all the difference or provide you with hope when everything else looks dark or clouded, and thus it could be an indication that it's worth it to keep on striving, to keep on holding on and persisting. So I do wonder if that might be part of the meaning, but I feel like it could go any number of ways, so I'll just try to catch what I can. This is Madonna. The tune is Ray of Light. It's from the album of the same name, 1998. Yo, if you told me before I heard this tune that there would be a lot of acid pervasive throughout the track, as well as some drum and bass rhythms, I suppose I wouldn't have been necessarily surprised, but I would have been very intrigued, and it makes me very intrigued indeed for these remixes of Ray of Light. So again, whether we do it next time or at the end of this album, I'm very intrigued by what we might hear, knowing that the tune on the album has a lot of electronic trance-like stylings. But yeah, like lyrically, I'm really fascinated, and I didn't catch everything, and especially like a couple of the repeated lines. There's one like, I feel like I just got home. Is that right? Obviously, if that line is different, it could go in a completely different direction. There was a line that was repeated around the end, which it was like, I think it was asking something about God, I think, but also like talking about, you know, someone going faster than light, faster than a ray of light, so talking about distance covered. There's like lines about tears, certainly lines about the sky, and so I'm wondering like if we're talking about the transmission and the speed of emotion. I think maybe there's some commentary here about humanity and or our beliefs or our understandings. So I feel like there could be a more narrow meaning to some of the lines, but it feels like it's asking some philosophical questions and using lines like, you know, seemingly more astronomy or science based than I would have guessed, but also apparently in terms of metaphors or figurative meaning to convey our, you know, psycho-emotional considerations or ruminations. So yeah, like I don't quite know what to make of it, but I do. What was it? It was like something relative to a single ray of light. So again, I think there is this distinction or this metaphor using the idea of, you know, a single photon and then using that as a starting point to describe emotional understanding or perception. Either way, I think her vocals are fantastic. There's some flourishes where she's really like bending and doing some incredible flare-ups that are, you know, not just normal extensions. Like there's some vocal acrobatics along the way as she does these really long extensions. Of course, I love the electronic dance stylings, in particular some different flavors of acid. You know, there's some acid that's very chirpy, and then there's some acid that's very like tightly coiled. There's some electronic synths beyond that that have this feel of like a trance pop type of tune. It does like not surprise me that this is late 90s, because, You know, I feel like that was finally the era when some rave music stylings were beginning to infiltrate popular music and beginning to find their way into radio play. And that's in no way to say that Madonna was just, you know, following a trend in music. I feel like this is actually more electronic heavy than a lot of what was happening in that regard. And it's less house like. I think house is like the genre that found its way mostly into pop music at the time I'm thinking, whereas again, this has more of like a vocal trance kind of feel. But yes, I do absolutely love the acid work, which started right away and again went through some different phrasings or some different idioms along the way, but was pervasive throughout the track. And as I said, I really enjoy her vocals. The kick, like the tempo, just the sheer BPM was faster than a lot of tunes that may have, you know, taken on some of the stylings of electronic dance music of the 90s and brought them into the pop idiom. So yes, you know, I've mentioned in some Pet Shop Boys reactions, and again, you know, knowing I did that collaboration or the remix of the Madonna tune from them, yeah, like some of their tracks have like electronic stylings in a way that surprised me, where it's like, oh, like this is like more underground electronic sounding than some other tracks where it's like, okay, you can feel a bit of the fusion. And this one I'd put in that same category where, yeah, it's like a pop track, but it has more, and I hate using the word authentically, more pervasively or more comprehensively underground sounding in some of the sonics than I might have predicted in advance. So a really cool tune. As I said, I'm looking forward to hearing the remixes as well as getting any insight people may have on the lyrics. But yes, a top tune. I feel like this album has been strength to strength to strength so far, and I know a number of folks were commenting on it in advance. And of course, there's still The Power of Goodbye coming later in the album, a tune that I do have a personal history with and I've deliberately avoided re-listening to for a while, but that I do know on some level, so that'll be great to reconnect with that one. Let me know what you think, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.